Hello everyone, and welcome back to Secrets Behind the Stars. I hope you're wrapped in calm and possibility today, because what we're diving into deserves a quiet heart and open ears. We're talking about a love story that doesn't just warm you up for a few minutes and then fade away. It lingers, expands, and quietly asks you to rethink what you thought love could survive. The title of today's chapter says it all: Barış and Yağmur, Love That Tears Down Walls. It's not a fairy tale with glass slippers. It's a lived-in story, full of grit, grace, and two people choosing one another over and over against the background noise of the world. Our focus is Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel, two names so familiar to anyone who follows Turkish show business that you might feel you know them. But the public smiles and red carpet flashes rarely tell the private battles, the quiet victories, and the nights when doubt presses hard. Their paths looked so different for so long that imagining them together felt like asking two stars to change their orbits. Yet, as often happens in the most unforgettable unions, something invisible tugged them closer. Call it fate, call it timing, call it the stubborn insistence of love. From early on, Yağmur moved through life with the wary grace of someone who had learned resilience the hard way. There were expectations, whispers, and the structural obstacles that come with trying to prove yourself in an industry that adores you one day and questions you the next. She built an inner core tough enough to carry her through auditions that went nowhere and moments when the applause didn't come. With that strength came a gentle guard, a measured reserve that protected the softest parts of herself. She learned how to stand up straight in the face of closed doors. Meanwhile, Barış arrived at his own milestones from another angle. The spotlight liked him, sure, but he knew the weight of keeping things steady when the ground beneath him felt unsteady. He carried burdens that didn't announce themselves, those quiet doubts you tuck behind a smile, the pressure of being counted on, the fear of disappointing the people who believe in you. He was sensitive in that rare way that isn't loud or showy, capable of reading a room in seconds, asking the question that actually matters, and hearing what wasn't being said. So how did these two orbits finally cross? Not in a thunderclap. It began in one of those in-between places, between set calls and late-night script pages, between laughter that lasts a second too long and a silence that feels safe instead of awkward. A mutual friend, a work obligation, a look that lingered 1 second longer than the professional norm, whatever you want to call it, the first thread tugged. It wasn't dramatic. It was steady. In a glance, in the cadence of a question, in the way their shoulders eased around one another, something softly said, "You can be yourself here." And then came the walls. We all have them. Emotional walls that make us flinch from being seen. Social walls that insist on categories and expectations. Financial pressures that poke holes in romance. Prejudices that arrive uninvited, carrying other people's fears. The dread of missteps, of headlines, of being misunderstood. They had both built walls for good reasons, brick by necessary brick. But rather than turning away at the sight of each other's fortresses, they noticed the hairline cracks where light slipped through. That was the miracle. Not smashing through in a blaze, but the quiet work of finding the weak points and working together, season by season, until the barriers didn't stand a chance. The cornerstone of that work was communication, the kind that goes deeper than clever talk. It was late-night honesty, morning after patience, and the rare courage of saying, "Here is the part that hurts and here is the part I'm not proud of." Picture Yağmur, steady voice, describing the weeds of self-doubt that sometimes creep into her garden after a long day, and Barış choosing not to fix, not to preach, simply to be present and proud of the truth she offered. No judgment. Just space. Just belief. Now reverse it, Barış, who others expect to shoulder everything, admitting he's tired, that the performance was good but something felt off, and seeing in her eyes not disappointment, but a harbor. That is the kind of listening that changes the shape of a life. What they built was never passive. It wasn't the kind of love that assumes it will keep breathing on its own. It was active. Work, yes, but joyful work, the kind that makes you braver without noticing. When a long-shelved dream surfaced, maybe a role she wanted but feared she'd be misread in, or a project he'd sketched on napkins and then hid in a drawer, they became each other's momentum. He offered practical help when practicality was called for, and a relentless faith when practicality would have killed the spark. She answered his uncertainties with a careful, unwavering mirror. See what I see when I look at you. In that exchange, they each found permission to go further. And yet, let's be honest, no story worth telling is free of friction. Doubts arrived like storms, sometimes small and moody, other times dramatic enough to rattle windows. There were misunderstandings that grew in the spaces between overbooked schedules. There were hard conversations about priorities, and the way attention from fans and press can bend a moment until it looks like something it isn't. But this is where they stand out. Instead of letting difference calcify into distance, they used it as a starting point. They learned to argue without cruelty, to ask for a pause instead of a retreat, to negotiate not for victory, but for clarity. That's not simple romance, that's craft. Mutual admiration takes center stage in their story. It's not just the hearts and flowers kind, it's full-bodied respect. Yağmur admires the way Barış reflects back the best in people, how he finds the tone that dissolves tension, how he keeps hope visible even when the day doesn't reward it. And Barış, for his part, is in awe of the tensile strength in Yağmur's spirit. The resilience that doesn't harden into cynicism, the courage that keeps room for tenderness, the ability to be luminous without pretending life is easy. That admiration isn't decoration, it's fuel. Their inner circles, protective by nature, watched at first with careful eyes. Friends asked the practical questions. Family weighed the what-ifs. That is love, too, the kind that worries. But time clarifies. As the people closest to them saw how Barış and Yağmur made each other more themselves. More grounded, more daring, more kind, the skepticism eased into understanding. Then came the shift you can't manufacture, the quiet blessing that arrives when witnesses see transformation up close. The story stopped being a theory and became a thing you could point to. Look how they show up for each other. Look how they get back up together. So what, exactly, can the rest of us lift from their path? First, the irreplaceable power of empathy. Not the performance of it, but the choice to step into another person's weather and feel the wind as if it were yours. Second, the bravery of vulnerability, the paradox that the moment you admit you're breakable is the moment you become unbreakable in the ways that count. Third, patience, how time, given with care and without a stopwatch, coaxes trust to bloom. And fourth, the ferocity of unconditional support. Standing steady in someone else's storm without insisting the thunder stop on your timetable. None of these are glamorous. All of them are rare. Together, they make love strong enough to move a wall. If you strip away the headlines and watch what's underneath, you're left with two people who refuse to let fear be their narrator. Even when a mountain rose up in front of them, a complication, a rumor, a misstep, they refused the easy option of retreat. Instead, they turned toward each other and toward the mountain, asking how to climb, where to rest, when to carry and when to be carried. It wasn't a grand gesture that changed everything, it was 1,000 small acts repeated with intention. That's why their story resonates. It shows that romantic love, when tended with discipline and delight, can be a force that reorders a life from the inside out. And yes, there's a glow around them now. It's not the shiny kind that comes and goes with a camera flash. It's the kind that accumulates from many private moments, an unhurried breakfast before the day attacks, the hand squeezed beneath a table when words fall apart, a laugh shared in the car after a long night. People sense it, even if they can't name it. That glow says, we do the work, we protect the space, we make each other better. It's hope you can see. As always here on Secrets Behind the Stars, we're not just here to be dazzled. We're here to learn from what's beautiful and real. Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel remind us that love expands to the exact size of the care you give it. Offer it patience, and it grows patient. Give it honesty, and it becomes clear. Feed it kindness, and it gets strong enough to carry you on the days you can't carry yourself. Call it a model, a map, a melody, whatever metaphor you prefer, this is a song worth learning. To gather it all in one breath, today we traced how two lives that once ran side by side finally met, recognized one another, and got to work dismantling the barriers that once seemed permanent. We saw how fierce communication, empathy without theatrics, and a deep, daily admiration became the architecture of a bond that stands up to weather. We watched them encourage old dreams into daylight and hold each other steady when the winds changed. And with each step, they proved that love is not the absence of obstacles, it's the practice of walking through them together. Now it's your turn. Tell me what part of Barış and Yağmur's journey reached for you. Was it the slow, steady demolition of their walls? The way they listen more than they speak? The discipline of showing up even when it's inconvenient? Drop your reflections in the comments. This community is at its best when your voices fill the room. And if this story stirred something, let it ripple further, like the video, send it to a friend, and make sure you're subscribed to Secrets Behind the Stars with notifications on, so every new chapter finds you right when you need it. Until we meet again, take good care of your hearts, protect the gentle places, and remember what this couple shows us with each choice they make. Love isn't magic until you do the work, and once you do, it can move mountains. Let that truth keep you company tonight. We'll see you in the next one.